Welcome. This video is going to show you how to create a budget using Pathways and track your expenditures against the budget, which can be very helpful for keeping your costs under control for yourself, or in this case we're going to do a budget for a family. So to start, I'll point out that we are in advanced mode as demonstrated by the little graduate hat in the lower corner of the window. We already have Pathways running. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go to Options and choose Beginner Mode, which changes the symbol to a little baby rattle. But it doesn't matter because for this demo, we are only using Beginner Mode features anyway, so that will be quite sufficient. I'm going to show you the easiest way to create a budget for your family. So we're just going to go here to File and go New. We're going to choose from File and we're going to choose Family Budget and OK. This then pops up a little wizard in the right hand corner of the screen and answer a few questions. So first of all, what year? Well, we're going to accept the current year, choose Next. It wants to know what is our annual family income. Now I'm just going to use some hypothetical numbers here. This is based on averages from the United States, but if you live in Canada or Europe or somewhere else, you would just use whatever numbers are typical for you and for the currency that you're using in your country. So we'll put in $70,000 as a typical income, and we'll put in some typical costs for a small family. For groceries, for clothing, rent, transportation, assuming the person has a vehicle, and healthcare. Now that can vary quite a bit by country, but we'll put in just something to get us going here and give us a demonstration. It's also making a guess here about your income tax and sales taxes. This is a percentage of your income as far as the guess is concerned. We're going to leave that for the moment. And last, we need to save a little bit for retirement, which is important for every family. So we'll put in something there. That, again, a typical kind of amount to save. And now we'll click Next, and it's going to produce the plan for us. And it's giving us a little bit of suggestion here about what we might do with this plan. So let's just go take a look at it. You'll see that we have across the bottom quarters 1, 2, 3, and if we scroll to the right or just drag this a bit, we can see that we have 4 quarters, and we can also see that we have within those 4 quarters we have the various things that we just answered questions about, our earnings and potential other earnings, our groceries and so forth, spread across time. So we can close this wizard now, and we will just make a few little adjustments. But the first thing we want to do is just see, okay, how did that turn out for us as far as being a viable budget? So let's go to Reports. We'll choose Budgeted Money, and we'll take the full periods from quarters 1 to 4. This is where the file is going to be put in its, we scroll out to the right, its report print file. So we'll click OK. It creates the report and starts the report viewer to show our report. I'll just move it over to the right a little bit, stretch it out so we can see it. So there we have our salary that we'd keyed in, and this is broken down into equal parts for each of the 4 quarters of the year. The expenses that we had put in, our savings for $5,000 to be invested for retirement. We'll scroll down a bit. Expected taxes, and the bottom line is, in this example, that we're short by $7,000 per year. So that's not going to do. We're going to have to figure out how can we fix that up. This is the important part of budget planning, is to try and make something that's going to be workable based on your circumstances. So let's go back to the plan here, and we can maybe save ourselves some money. And one of the ways we can do that is we can go into transportation, and there we see the $800 a month that we had selected from the wizard. That was kind of based on the assumption that we were driving a car. Well, we're going to take the bus instead. And so what we're going to do is just get a bus pass. This little box in the middle is for notes, and we're going to change that monthly cost. And well, let's see, what do you suppose that would cost? Well, let's go for $60 a month for a bus pass and click OK. So let's see how that does. now. So we can close this report, or we can just create another one. And let's just create another one. Go budgeted money. I have to put it in a different file though, because that other file's already open. So let's call the file report 2. Click OK. So let's see how it looks now compared to the way it was before. Let's stretch this out a little bit. So when we see now that actually things are quite a bit better, we actually have enough money, having resorted to the bus instead of other kinds of transport. I can see some other things about this that are perhaps not quite realistic as well, especially since our expenses are now down to about $40,000 a year. If our sales taxes are about 10% of that, then our sales tax guess of $7,000 is too high. It should probably be more like, $4,000. So let's go and fix that. So we'll just go find on here our sales taxes. We can just scroll down through the different categories. There it is. We can go in and change that to $4,000. Click OK. And that's going to save us a fair amount of money. So we'll just close these for the moment. Let's get ourselves some vacation. You'll notice that on this we have some items with a little question mark. Those are things that were put in the plan by the wizard, but it's not certain whether you're going to need them or be able to afford them, so they're shown with a question mark. Just scrolling down, we can see we've also got some gifts, charitable donations, and other things that are suggested as possibilities. Property tax, if we weren't renting, we'd probably have property tax. If our phone and other things were not included, like our utilities and insurance in our rent, those would be separate things that we would have to put some budget in for. So let's go and give ourselves some vacation. We'll click on the vacation which had a question mark. We will choose chosen, meaning that we're going to actually do it. And it was tentatively put in the third quarter, which is around summertime. So let's just put in an amount for that period. And let's say we're going to spend $1,000 on vacation. And we'll say OK. And also, let's have some family spending money, which we hadn't really accounted for. And just scrolling down. Well, maybe I went too far. Family allowances. Sure, let's put in a couple $100 a month for that and see how that works out. Okay, so let's just go and see how that is. Budgeted money, and go. And we'll stretch it out. Oh, we're still pretty good. We actually have still a few $1,000s to spare here. So what are we seeing here? We put in our vacation. We didn't actually choose that family allowance. We put in the amount, but we didn't put that it was chosen. Okay, that's good. Now the question mark has come off of it. Anyway, we can see that we also have maybe a bit more money we can spend. Let's add something for a special season at Christmas. Now, it isn't in the list already, but we can add it. We just pick the category we'd like to stick it under. So let's stick it under nice to have. We'll just draw a little box here, and we can add a new item that wasn't in the list before. We'll call it Christmas gifts. And this plan just has a couple of different participants in it, and this is the ones we want. And let's make it, say, $200 to spend in the Christmas season. And we'll say OK. And it goes in a nice to have category. So now let's run our report again. Budgeted money. OK. And we'll stretch it out a bit. Scroll down. and we still have a bit of money to spare, so we're okay. So that is the conclusion of creating the budget process. Of course, what you're going to need to do is over time, you're going to need to see whether you're actually spending within your budget or not. So that means you need to keep track of what you're spending. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You could upload information from online banking. That'll tell you where you bought stuff and for how much the prices were, but it doesn't tell you what you bought from those particular stores. So what I like to do is, when I'm keeping track of my costs at home, I like to enter the receipts when I come back from a store and record how much I spent in each category. So let's go do that. We're going to go to banking. So we'll take our little picture of the bank. It pops up this form. Now we don't have any banks yet, so let's add one. We'll just call it My Bank for an example. You'd call it whatever, XYZ Savings or whatever it is, or XYZ Bank. If you had money in your bank already, you could say how much you had. Doesn't really matter for this example. And we'll call OK. And now we can just say go, since we don't really care to filter it at this stage. We have nothing yet. I'm going to buy something. Let's say I went to do Savings Mart today, and I bought something. The current day is shown with a little red circle around it, so we'll go with today. Here's what I bought today at Savings Mart. I bought some food, which is the groceries, for $200. You notice that because groceries is an expense, it's already put the negative sign in. Negative meaning money out, positive is money in. I also got some new shoes, and that's clothing, and that was $50, and then there's sales tax on it. Let's say it's about 10%. And that would be about, well, that much, say. Okay, so that's done. Now we can save that, close it. Let's do a report, budget status, and let's have it broken down by month, and OK. So now we have our report. We can stretch it out here. It's similar to the one we saw before. We do have our annual budget here, but we've also got our actual costs. So far, not much, just the $250 we spent there and the $25 on tax. And since I'm doing this demo in May, that ended up in the May column. And then you can scroll down to the bottom, and then you can see how much that works out to compared to where you'd expect it to be. Now, there's a reason it's negative on the actuals, because we didn't actually record any income, because we'd have to record our salary as well when that came in. And that enables you then to keep yourself on track, adjust the budgets where you need to, maybe take a few actions regarding how much money you're spending to try and make things affordable. So that's about it. The last thing you want to do, of course, is save your work. So go to File and Save. It's going to give you a default name. I'll call it whatever I want. I can call it My Budget Tracking. And all file types, all Pathways plans are a file type of PLN. If we didn't put that in, it will ask me to add it. So we'll add that, and it's saved. That means if we want to open the file, it's going to remember that. We can open it up again another time when we want to use Pathways and do some more on it. So there you have it, a quick run through of everything you need to know about planning a budget and tracking your progress.